A mother and a father stand on either side of their young son, hands reaching down to him in an attempt to keep him at their walking pace. He looks around in wonder. A foreign land stretches across in front of them. He smiles big and tells his parents to look, who both reply with a worn, "Yes, I see." Their flat affect goes unnoticed, and no further words are exchanged. The silence is filled by the sound of the wind blowing through the tall grass in the prairie. An occasional bird song sings out past the faraway trees where they walk. This morning was a good preparation for the stroll that they are taking. Plentiful amounts of protein and carbs to fuel a good day. It was the boy's first time eating Bircher muesli and Sein Fire. Being far from picky, he ate it in a rush, pestering his mom by yanking on her sleeve to do the same, when he's met by the indifference of his pestering. That's okay, he thinks. It's no different than usual. I'll sit before Baba gets mad at me. After walking patiently, they finally get to go into the grass, and the boy is elated. His version of fun is not too typical of a boy his age. Though he loves to dabble in hitting things with sticks, he also enjoys getting the chance to spend time with his parents. It doesn't come often for him. Their attention is regularly taken up by his elder siblings and work. In all of his 3 years of life, his parents have never really shown him special treatment like this. Taking him to a whole nother country is something he would never have guessed. Before too long, the three of them arrive at the destination, in the middle of nowhere, far away from the city walls, and near the forest edge. His father lets go of his hand and walks a few feet away and sits in the grass, making sure his back is facing them. When he goes to follow, his hand is squeezed, and he is kept in place by his mother's grip. He looks back at her. She looks at him with a frown and dead eyes. This causes the toddler's smile to fade. He resumes his position by her side, now with his eyes staring at the grass that bends beneath his weight. She releases his hand and sighs wholeheartedly. Finally! Today is the day. Her eyes move up to the sky and she smiles. Her long hair is blown by the wind behind her. The boy looks up at her and a small smile creeps onto his face. What's that mean, Mama? Before he blinks, his mother shoves him hard enough to send him onto the ground. Once he finally gets the chance, he looks up at her in fear. She is quick to move, pushing his back to the ground and holding him there. All the boy can do is squirm underneath her weight, letting out whines and squeals when she places her hand to his forehead and pins him to the ground. "Omi, stop it, stop it." His tears fill his eyes and he screams at her over and over to stop and let him go. "Baba, Abi, please help me. Baba," he calls for his father, who hugs his knees and covers his ears. "Shut it, vile waste of space." Her words are sharp and the S's cause her to spit onto his face. Shock runs through the boy's face, and he stops and stares at her enraged face. Something shiny in her hand is seen in the corner of his vision before it's put to the corner of his mouth and yanked through his cheek to the masseter muscle of his jaw. His shrieks fill the air and blood pours onto the grass and into his mouth. "I'm sorry, Mama, I'm sorry. Please stop, Mama," is garbled out of his mouth before it's done again to the other side of his face. As soon as the other side is cut, she drops the curved knife next to him and stands up. She wipes her bloodied hands onto the grass and taps her husband's shoulder. He stands up, and they both leave without looking back to see their dying son in the grass. After 20 minutes of sobbing to himself, the boy hears a voice calling out, but it's dim and far away. A teenager pops up into his view, looking horrified. The boy feels himself being jostled around before being picked up and bounces along with the running teenage boy. The next thing the boy sees is a bright ceiling. He feels warm and comfortable, and is only reminded of the previous day by his attempt to yawn, only to feel his mouth stitched shut, and a dull, overwhelming pain accompanying. Panic builds in him which garners the attention of the one sitting next to him, who grabs his hand and tells him to quiet. He complies. A paper and pencil is given to the boy with the question, "Where is home?" The boy writes back the place of his home slowly and messily, and hands it back to the visitor. The teenage boy takes it and reads it, and writes something and gives it back. "Do you have someone to take you home?" The note gets passed. "No." The note gets passed. "You don't know anyone here?" The note gets passed. "No. Please take me home." The note gets passed. "Hell no, I don't have any means of transportation, Squirt." The note gets passed. Please take me home. The note gets passed back and forth for another 10 minutes before the teenager groans and finally agrees. Okay, okay, I'll take you home. We just have to leave. He looks at the clock on the wall. Right now. The little boy nods, taking the teenager by surprise as to why he would agree to leave when he's in such bad condition. The teenager stands up and takes the boy out of bed, wrapping him with a piece of fabric that forms a hood over his head and ties at his shoulder. Your face is disgusting and terrifying, so try not to look at any people, the teenager says as he finishes the tie on his own cloak. Be sure to keep up, he says as he immediately leaves out the door. His long strides take him far from the open door, causing the little boy to run after him. Yeah, this isn't gonna work, um, the teenager grumbles as he grabs the boy and puts him on his shoulders. The boy holds on tightly to the teenager's head, afraid to fall from such a height. The next couple weeks go by very slowly. The journey from one country to another on foot is an arduous feat, made worse by a disabled toddler. Eventually, the two of them were able to figure out how to properly care for the boy's injuries and how to get him fed, which ended up being lots of blended fruit and watered down bean pastes, being siphoned from a tube into his mouth to be easily swallowed. The teenager filled the silence with his talking and stories from when he was younger, reminiscing like he was a middle-aged man. The younger one didn't mind. He is used to being alone and invites the constant presence of another greedily. Finally, they made it to the boy's home country, and thanks to the boy's good memory and help from many random strangers, they were able to navigate themselves in the right direction. The closer they got, the more nervous the boy had gotten, afraid to make his mother so angry again for just being there. Once the house came into view, the teenager let the boy off his shoulders and slid both of their hoods off. With a big inhale and exhale, the teenager knocks on the door, just for the mother to open the door and having to look up at his face, she says with a smile, "How can I help you?" "Ah, good day, miss. I believe you forgot something back in Mont." He guides the boy in front of his mother. She freezes, staring at the little boy she had made deformed and stitched silent.